So, brethren, it's a pleasure being here once again. And I know last week I spoke on the Apostle Paul, the God ordained apostle to and teacher of the Gentiles. And I gave scriptures from Romans chapter 11, verse 13, Ephesians chapter 3, verses 7 to 8, and 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 7 for persons to read on their own time, to demonstrate or to explain that he also spoke on Jesus' doctrine of no divorce and remarriage except for fornication in any of his marital discourses. He never contradicted Jesus' doctrine on those issues, right? So, brethren, today, what I would like to talk about now on my segment is unforgiveness and unrestrained lust are the chief reasons for this divorce and remarriage mess. So all scriptures will be read from the King James Version Bible only. So I'll start, brethren. Now, if one were to ask me what were the chief underlying causes for divorce and remarriage, I would readily respond. The chief cause is unforgiveness as a result of hard-heartedness, and the other cause would be unrestrained lust. Now, my answer is not simply religious conjecture, for Jesus Christ himself said that Moses, because of the hardness of the people's hearts, added this divorce and remarriage amendment to the God-ordained matrimonial statute of Genesis chapter 2, verses 23 to 24. And persons can also read Mark chapter 10, verses 3 to 6. And notice, too, that as soon as he gave them that explanation, he immediately added the following. So I'll be reading Mark chapter 10, verse 6, which states, "But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female." Now, this "but from the beginning of creation" in inverted commas clause is an indication that divorce was not in God's plan for man. Now, if one were to ask how awful the sin of unforgiveness is, I would simply point that one to the Lord's Prayer and ask that individual to observe that Jesus hinged our being forgiven by God to our willingness to forgive others. So for confirmation, one can read Matthew chapter 16, verses 14 to 15, and Luke chapter 11, verse 4. So that is Matthew chapter 6, verses 14 to 15, and Luke chapter 11, verse 4. Now, notice also that unforgiveness will cause the prayer of faith to go unanswered. So, this fact can be verified by reading Mark chapter 11, verse 25. Because of these facts, we know the tremendous blessings that one can attract by being forgiving. On the other hand, these texts make it abundantly clear that unforgiveness will always attract the judgment of God and will also cause one's prayer to go unanswered. Now, when one realizes that unforgiveness is the legitimate offspring of hard-heartedness, one can better understand the awfulness of the sin of unforgiveness and why Jesus had to repeal that old Mosaic amendment to the original marital code. Brethren, unforgiveness is the chief reason why we are in this divorce and remarriage mess today. Of this, I am absolutely sure. Now, if unforgiveness as a result of hard-heartedness is the mother of divorce and remarriage, unrestrained lust, without doubt, is the father. So for confirmation, read 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 2 to 4, and observe that spiritual progress can only be realized as one escapes the corruption that is in the world as a result of lust. After reading what the Apostle Peter said, turn to 1 John chapter 2, verses 15 to 17, and see that lust is at the root of all moral and spiritual degeneration and must inevitably lead to destruction. Undoubtedly, there is one thing that every human being soon finds out for him or herself, and it is the fact that lust is a vice which can never be satisfied. Therefore, if one were hooked on any particular vice, one could never hope to extricate oneself except or until one were willing to submit to the lordship of Jesus Christ. By submitting to God's word, for failure to find deliverance from lust will inevitably result in one becoming a pervert. To prove my final points, I humbly ask that you consider the history of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Zoar. So turn to Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 23, and Genesis chapter 19, verse 17 to 22, as the passages that one should read for confirmation. Those 5 cities, after having departed from the God-ordained matrimonial statutes, recorded for us in Genesis chapter 2, verses 23 to 24, soon degenerated into hideous crimes such as sodomy, bestiality, and incest. Read Jude chapter 1, verse 7, and Genesis chapter 19, verses 4 to 5. Now, with respect to the fact that incest was part of their downfall, look again at Genesis chapter 19, verses 17 to 22, and you would observe that Lot refused to flee to the mountain as was instructed by the angel. He opted instead to remain in Zoar. Because of this, Zoar was spared the just judgment of God. Now look at verse 30 and observe that he ultimately left Zoar and fled to the mountain. What then was the result of his having stayed at Zoar? The following is indeed shocking, to say the least. His daughters became corrupted by the sinful lifestyle of the inhabitants of Zoar and seduced their father into incestuous orgies, which resulted in them becoming pregnant for him. This you will see by reading Genesis chapter 19, verses 31 to 38. Brethren, as I come to a close, from these historical examples and from what is currently happening around us, we should at least understand that unrestrained lust knows no boundaries. Once hooked, the moral and spiritual degeneration will grow progressively worse, and such a person, nation, or kingdom must ultimately become degenerate, thus inviting God's just judgments, as did Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them. In closing, therefore, it is surely fitting that I reiterate the fact that the 2 principal reasons why the Church of Jesus Christ is now being strangled by this divorce and remarriage octopus are unforgiveness and unrestrained lust. On the other hand, however, if we would be deal with these two deadly sins of unforgiveness and unrestrained lust, sins that have bedeviled the church of Jesus Christ, the incidence of divorce and remarriage would disappear almost overnight. Of this, I am absolutely sure. For all the other reasons advanced for divorce and remarriage, brethren, are but extensions of unforgiveness and unrestrained lust. Therefore, as I come to an end, this know, all leaders of the churches of the living God, if those who are redeemed are overcome by unforgiveness and unrestrained lust, can we honestly expect the unregenerate to behave any better than they are behaving today? Well, know this also. We must either overcome or be overrun, for there is no neutral ground. Which side are you on, brethren? On the Lord's side or on the world's? May God help us to see the light. That is my honest prayer to God for us all. So that's the end of my segment today, brethren. I will be live next week again. Brethren, Jesus Christ will be returning, and he will be returning soon. Please surround yourselves with persons that are walking this narrow and straight road. Prepare yourselves for Jesus Christ's return. Spend time in the Holy Bible on a daily basis and meditate on Jesus Christ's word. Strengthen yourselves, brethren, because what lies ahead for the children of God will not be an easy road. So, have a safe and productive week. I will be live next week again. And bye for now. Remember, Jesus Christ loves you, and I love you.